summers.
Well, Scott, speaking of enjoyment, how was it for that first practice as the head knock? Did you have to stop yourself from going in there and giving the speeches that normally the associate coach would give?
You know what? Last night we had our dinner, so I get to talk to them then. But no, I've been pretty excited here the last 3 or 4 weeks to get going and to be out in the ice. It's always this is an exciting time, and to have the whole group together and go. It's what you love the coaching about.
Did you see what you wanted or needed to see at least in day one here?
Yeah, I liked a lot of what we did. We showed video before how we want to play, especially without the puck. We tried to design as many drills that kind of locked up and had a look towards what we showed on video, and then we actually saw it out there, and we saw some real good reads and some guys that are new to the system actually picking up on what we wanted to do, and the veterans kind of polishing themselves up on what we've done in the past.
You have no control over Cole Perfetti and his situation, but how much of a luxury is it for you as a coaching staff to have the flexibility, i.e. in Alex Iafallo, you can plug in on that line and it just kind of goes along?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that he's not here, but like you said, others get to step up, and that's kind of our camp. We've got a lot of jobs that, that maybe guys can I told them last night that there's opportunities, and through how they practice and the exhibition games themselves, guys are going to get a chance to play and show us what you have. So whether it's Al moving up, everything's going to it'll get moved around a little bit as we move forward. But I liked a lot of what I saw today. I think that the young guys were stepped up and played, did what they needed to do today, and then obviously the veterans for a first day. I liked the pace of both practices.
Scott, how much should we read into how you had your lines? None? Nil? I mean, there's a couple, obviously, Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter that we saw in lengthy stints last year. So is there a method to maybe keeping them together to start here?
It is, it's just been sort of my history of kind of been in other teams. It's when those guys can come out in the first couple of days and get their touches amongst each other, it kind of gets them up and running. I've also seen it the other way where you put a veteran with a couple of young guys, it gets very frustrating. So for those guys, it was more just sort of, the familiarity playing amongst each other. Things change as the games come. So when we get two that come real quick here. So I just wanted, kind of have those guys that have played together kind of do that. We split the D up. So that was a little different look to it. But it'll all kind of work itself back to, who will play with who.
Games kind of right off the hop here this weekend. Is there a mindset that you have towards, or are you going to dress a pretty young lineup for both, and maybe some veteran guys wouldn't play in either?
Yeah, the one sort of advantage this year is that a lot of our guys, and I might get them wrong, but guys like Axel and Tony and Stan, Sammy, like these guys are all veterans now. And we didn't have that luxury in the last couple of years. And we had to play more of our veterans. So it actually works out. It'll work out good that the first 2 games we can actually get 8 veterans in on both teams, and it won't be a lot of our big guys. So a lot of them I've talked to them all. A lot of them either want to play, 4 of the last 4, 3 of the last 4. So we'll probably work itself out that way, which is great because of what we talked about, opportunity, guys getting a chance. There's guys here that maybe in other years might not get an exhibition game, and they're probably more than likely almost everybody. Don't quote me on the everybody, but it's going to be real close to everybody getting a game.
When you speak of the roles that some of the young guys are auditioning for, what roles are you specifically talking about?
Well, I mean, it's if you're have a top 6 skill, whether that's going out and showing us what you can do in that line, whether you're you're a defensive defenseman playing amongst. I'm not really talking about a specific job. I'm talking more about the role that you play, because it's over the course of the year. This may be our first chance or really our only chance to get to look at them with our group. They may go to the Moose, and then I have an idea how I may want to use them if we call them up. I talk to Moen, it's it's a 3rd line winger. It's it's a top 6 forward. It's a bottom one of the 5-6 defensemen. I got a little better idea what what I need or where those guys fit in. So it's more like I talked about last night to them about go play to your identity, do what you do best, and kind of you're all going to get chances to be seen by, like I said, more so because the exhibition games, you're going to get a chance to to be in situations that maybe you weren't normally going to be in, and show us what you can do.
To that point, the way Rick ran the team last year, seemed like if there were injuries, you know, in the lineup, guys would kind of get promoted from down the lineup, and guys like AJF would come in and fill out that fourth line. I know there's a lot that you have to see from the players before you can make that distinction, but do you see guys like Chibrikov, Lambert, guys like that getting closer to a position where if you're in the year and you see a guy drop out of the top six with injury, that you could be plugging guys straight in from the A to those roles?
Yeah, I'm not going to go specific on names, and you know, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but and I have a ton of respect for Bones. I'm not doing what Bones did. I'm doing what I'm going to do, and so at the end of the day, it's whenever those situations, we don't know where we're going to be 2 weeks from now. Last year, Ville Hanola made our team, and then he was gone. He broke his ankle and changes things. So every day it may be different because of injuries or whatever might happen, or pace of play, how guys are playing. When I get, I'll worry about sort of who the call-up guys are when we get down that road. You know, like I said, you got to come out of this healthy, and then when we start against Edmonton, you know, in October, we'll have a better picture of what we look like.
You talked about Ville making the team last year. I mean, a lot of times established veterans have a little bit of an edge. How he came to camp and made the team last year, does that give him an edge coming to this camp? I
just told him use, you know, as I talked to him this summer, use that as motivation. He, you know, I challenged him last year to come in and fight for one of those jobs, and he did. He came ready, and you know, I said the same thing to him this year. It was unfortunate what happened last year, and then the other thing, we had 0 injuries really on our back end last year. You know, so he didn't really get a chance, especially with us having 8D here. So, you know, this year he's in a battle with some other guys there that, you know, come in and put his best foot forward. And I think he gained confidence last year by how he played. He knew he played well, and he gave himself a chance.
Scott, it seems like you have a ton of guys that could be in competition for a bottom six, whether it's fourth line role, like you've got guys like Jared Anderson-Dolan, Mason Shaw, you've got Kapari, Gustafson, Toninato, Axel, like a lot of bodies. Will how you put your fourth line together depend on maybe how guys like that show, or do you already have an idea of what you'd want a fourth line to look like?
Oh, I think that, you know, we'll give them all a chance. We'll really get to see them. I mean, I know them from coaching against them, but I'd really like to see them in our mix. You know, I think that the one thing that we didn't have, you know, obviously we know with free agency, it was a tough draw for us. The one thing we did do as an organization that we've improved our depth. We have a lot more players that are that are NHL ready to go, and so, you know, those guys, some of those guys you mentioned, they're going to be right in the thick of things, just like whether it's a battle on defense or those guys fighting for those last few spots. We give them the ice time, let them go out and kind of, you know, make their point.
Another job battle, obviously, is will a backup goaltender. You've got two guys who probably both feel that should be their job. You only have 6 preseason. I imagine Connor wants to play, I don't know how many, what his number is that he'd like to play, but is that where you defer to Wade a lot? Or does practice, these sessions almost take on extra importance for those guys because they may not see a ton of game action?
Yeah, we already talked to Helly, talked to Flats. He's probably going to be 2.5. I think it looks like, I mean, he wants to be in some big games against big lineups, so he won't be in here early. Actually, I'll tell you right now, both of the other guys are going to get Saturday, Sunday. So they'll each get the full game. Then they'll be maybe sprinkled in with Helly or whoever, how it works itself out on the other ones. But, yeah, Helly wants, it'll be 2.5 probably for Helly.
Is there any world in which you keep 3, or is there maybe not room for that?
You know what, actually, in all honesty, when you have a Vezina Trophy goalie, I haven't really thought about the goalies at all. So I really haven't. I just kind of, yeah, but it will be where we're at number-wise when we get to that point, right? So when you got to have your 23-man roster, you got to look at that as well. So.
Are you still open, Scott, on whether you want to go 14 forwards and 7 Ds or Vicky Versi, you know, for the extra bodies?
Nah, not necessarily. We would actually like to get to maybe doing 13 and 7. Mm-hmm. You know, I know that, you know, we did carry 8D the last couple of years. The first year Stan was hurt, but at the end of the day, it just you know, I think that we want to try to have a rotation where our 7th guy's getting a little bit more, and you know, it'll just be a situation, and we'll see. Like we get to the end of camp, we're going to have, you know, certainly guys that have to go through waivers, and we'll have to fight that battle too. So, yeah, I mean, it certainly helps you cap-wise if you can go, you know, 13 and 7, but we'll just kind of see where we're at the end of the training camp.
We know the familiarity, obviously, with you and the organization and a lot of the players. How do you go about putting your stamp on the group?
You know, I think that you know, just for me, as I spoke to these guys last night there, we're not going to change how we play without the puck. I think there's some things that I want to tinker with offensively, you know, sort of some things to do with our breakouts and whatnot. Not getting, I don't want to really get specific about it, but the big thing I talked to our group last night about was our compete. I just think that there's another level that we need to get to, and hopefully, like we talk about, you can't play. You know, I can't say half-ass. Sorry, can't say I just did, but you can't try to just get through the first part of the season not defending. And we talked about, you know, being a really good defensive team so that we get to the playoffs. We're used to that. Well, it's the same thing with compete. You can't all of a sudden come to the playoff and say, oh, I'm going to compete harder. I want that now. And we talked about it last night, about today in practice, all the drills, everything we do, you know, that we want to make sure. You talk about great elite athletes, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. All you hear is the competitiveness of those guys, how much they want to win. And that's the mentality. I think that's the next step for us, is that us taking that competitive level and taking it to the next step and making sure that it's something that we're really good at through the 82 games.
To that extent, Scott, you would be privy to kind of fitness results, not asking you to single anyone out, but would you say were you encouraged by just maybe the fitness levels that guys have come in here on?
Yeah, that's one thing about the NHL now. It really is. These guys are 12 months a year, and it's very rarely that something happens, guys not being in shape. This group is, you know, since I've been here, this has been a pretty easy group. They come in, Wolfie has their summer training, and we do see results over the course of the summer. And, you know, these guys it's a full-time job, 12 months of the year, so no issues there.